Hello and welcome to a new tutorial in which we are going to be making a small dice app in Unity, which we will then look at exporting to Android and the web. I'm going to be using Unity 6. I'm creating a universal 3D, even though there's going to be no 3D aspects to this as yet. I've given it a sensible name for RPG Dice, a sensible place, and I'm creating the project. So I've got a brand new scene. I'm just going to create a quick canvas. So UI, canvas. There's our canvas now. Because it's going to be on phone, I'm sort of keeping it this sort of proportion. Canvas, I'm going to come down here to scale with screen size, that'll do. I'm going to now right click UI, text box. Now because I've already done this, it didn't come saying do you want to import TextMesh Pro. You make sure you do press import TextMesh Pro, otherwise this won't work and it'll hold. I've seen a few people make that sort of mistake and they wonder why it's not working, because they've moved a dialog box out of the way, generally dragged it down here. So I'm just going to call this RPG Dice. I'm going to move this to the top of the screen. I've just made the box a bit wider because I'll be faffing with this a little bit later. I'll just center it for now. I'm going to just make sure this text box is still selected. I'm going to come to the top here and say lock it to the top. So now if I start scaling the screen, we can see the text box is staying right where it is. I'm just going to rename that. I'm going to try and get some good habits now. Title. I'm going to duplicate this. We'll rename this D6. So this is if you're a bit of a Dungeons & Dragons player, you'll know what I'm talking about, or other kind of RPGs where you have a set of dice. And I'm just going to put D6. That'll do for the moment. I'm now going to add a button. So a UI button. We'll call this D6 as well. Unfortunately, Unity lets us have multiple things of the same name because it's a different object. I'm just going to yeah, that's fine. I'm just wondering why that box is all the way over there. Okay, so I'm just going to expand this text, and we'll just put this roll D6. Is that the right thing? Just making sure we're not doing anything weird. Yep, that's fine. Text box is just there. That's got the right thing on as well. I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger. Of course, it's stretching the text box as well. Might want to play about with that in a little while, but we can sort of work on the UI part. It's short once we've got it functioning. Okay, I'm just going to also just check the alignment now. So I've got my text box. I want this to be locked to the top. Button. I want this to be locked to the top as well. So that way, if I start moving the screen around, there we go, we can still see that it's quite happily fixed in that one place, and that'll scale. We can always stretch these out as we get a feel for it. Now I don't really like looking at this background, so I'm going to click on the camera. I'm just going to change the background to solid colour. Just choose a slightly different thing, that'll do me nicely. But I don't just want a plain colour, I mean, you can if you like, but I'm going to put a background image on. So what I've done is I've already gone into Pixabay. I'm not sponsored by them, it's just one I can simply go to quite a lot now. I've typed in Parchment, scrolled through, quite liked that one, so I've just downloaded it and saved it into my assets folder. So here it is, already there. So I'm going to come up onto my canvas, right click again, UI, raw image. I'm going to drag this picture onto that, and I'm just now going to scale this up to the corners. Now it's gone in front of our buttons and text box, that's not a problem, it's a quick fix. I'm going to drag that to the very top, and that's the order we'll see it in. I'm also going to click on center and make this stretch. So now as we resize, we can see the image stretches with it. So if we're on different mobile screens or website pages, it should be just fine. But obviously the writing's now not very viewable, so I'm going to click on title, D6, and the text box. It's not the button itself, just the text boxes. I'm just going to very quickly change the colours of them. That'll do. I'm also going to make them all bold. That'll do for the moment. We'll come back and we'll do some more work on this shortly. Okay, so over to some code to see if this actually works. So I'm going to come into my scripts folder. I'm going to right click, create. You might not have a scripts folder. I've just made that extra to try and keep things organised. I'm having a mono behaviour script. I'm going to call this dice roll. Let's open that in Visual Studio. So I'm going to come up and I need the TM Pro library. using TM Pro. I'm going to create a public, oops, not spelled like that, public TMP underscore text. I'm going to call this D6 text. And that'll let us link Unity itself to our Visual Studio Code. I'm going to come down into, do I need update? I can actually get rid of these, but I'll leave them there for the moment. I'm going to go void dice roll open brackets. Now I'm going to receive a parameter for this. I'm going to pass a value into it. So it's going to be int num of sides. And that way I can use this one function for as many different dice as I like. So now I can go int roll equals random dot range, and I want to go from 1 to the number of sides. So if we send it the number 6, it's going to give us 6-sided dice. If we 20-sided dice, and I can finally go d6 text dot text equals roll. I'm just going to say dot to string as well, just so it converts it from an integer into a string to put into the text box. So I'm just going to save that, make sure it's saved, back into Unity, wait for it to compile. Okay, so I'm going to add an empty. This is where my code stuff is going. I'm going to drag my dice roll code onto there. We can see it's got the script dice roll, D6 text box, nothing. So I'm going to drag the D6 text box across, which was this one. I should really name these sensibly, shouldn't I? So I might actually rename that to D6 button, so we don't get confused. So I've got the D6, what have I got? Code stuff, D6, and I'm going to click on the button itself, scroll down here to where it says on click, add, drag my code stuff over. So again, this is not the script, I'm dragging the object over. A lot of people seem to confuse these two, then wonder why it's not working. So I'm dragging the code stuff object over. No function, dice roll, and now I can say roll dice wherever it's gone to. I think I made a little mistake. This should have been public, so that Unity can see it. Pressing save, going back. Again, really common mistake. So now I'm on the code stuff, no function, dice roll, and now I can say what side of dice it is. So I'm just going to type in 6. I'm going to press run. Let's see if this is working. Make sure I've done everything correctly. Okay, so I'm going to roll the dice. There we go, got 3, 2, 1. I'm going to just flick as fast as I can. Some of you might have noticed I think we're a number missing, which I kind of expect to see. That's why I'm testing it. We're never seeing the number 6 because of the way the random number works. It's actually going from our number 1 to something like 5.9 reoccurring. So I'm just going to say number of sides plus 1. I could have gone from 0 to number of sides and then just add 1 to it at the end. There's many ways you could do it, or then round up. So now we'll test that again. Okay, so here we are about to test. There we go, saw a 6, we saw a 1, we're not seeing a 0, we're not seeing a 7, so therefore we can fairly safe say this is absolutely fine. We've now got ourselves a little dice program rolling a 6-sided dice. Okay, so the next two things I want to do is, one, I want to add all the other dice that we might have. I also want to change this font, because this font looks really dull. And I think it'd be easy if I did the font now, because then I can just duplicate it, it'll take the font with it, I can get the scaling just right. So, again, just like with Pixabay, I've also gone on to Google Fonts. I've had a look through, I've played about with these various settings, clicking things, and I've found one that I quite kind of like, which I've already downloaded. I liked this charm, so I've clicked on it, I've said get font, I've then downloaded all, and I've already extracted that into my little media folder, which again I'm following with, and there's the font, ready to use, sort of. Now if I click on these text boxes, and we come over to our font itself, we can see there's only this choice. That's not good enough. We need to basically set this font up to be used. I'll not go into the full boring details of why we can't use any built-in font, but I need to say it's to do with performance, not the text one. I want to go into Text Mesh Pro, Font Asset Creator, and we can see it's already got Charm there, but if I click on the dot we can see these are the fonts installed. I want Charm Bold. I'm just going to look through these. I think these are all fine. I don't really know. I've never played with them that much. Generate font atlas. Press save. Yep, that's fine. Close that down. Click on my title. I should now be able to click on the little circle, and there we go, charmed. And I'm going to do that for the others. I can click more than one text box at a time. Okay, so there we go, we've got this font size, and now I can start to play about a little bit. I can get hold of these font size. I could say 72, so look, oh, that's a bit, meh, we'll see. I think I'll leave the title alone, but I'll bring those down a little bit. Okay, I'm fairly happy with that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to grab these. I'm just going to duplicate them. So edit and duplicate. It doesn't always let us. There we go. Duplicate, Control D. I'm going to move this up because I'm going to have a D4. I'm now going to grab all of these in one go, pull them down a little bit. I'm going to grab that next one. So we'll call that D4. Call that D4 button. And so on. Now, why use Unity for this? It is a bit overkill for making a simple DICE program, but it's a really nice way to make something platform independent. And if you're new to trying to make a little application, this is a great place to start getting used to UI, inputs and outputs, and then exporting options, and of course creating using the canvas. Okay, so that was rather tedious, but sometimes that's all you could do, is just like work through it. There's probably a quick way of doing it. I probably could have done it faster in a code and a loop, but either way, that's now set up. I'm going to just duplicate what the button one last time, just in case you do want to do this, which is to make a roll all button. I'm not sure why you'd want to roll all dice in one go, but it's just there for, I suppose, for test purposes. So I'm going to drag that down. I'm going to make that a little bit wider. I'll do nicely, and I'm sure there's other options you might be already thinking of, like maybe what if you want to roll 3d20 or 2d10s, in which case you can go for that, or maybe a d100 for sort of percentage, unless you like your 2d10s. There's lots of things you can add. But okay, so what I'm going to do quickly is now make this more functional, because I've not finished it off yet. So d4, I'm going to come down there and change that to 4. That's the reason I decided to do this. d6 is set up already. 8. So this is, again, this is not too tedious now. We can do this nice and quick. Okay, so let's now give this a whirl. So again, I've not had to go back into the code or change anything. This should have been a fairly quick process. Let's test. Oops, messed that up. Okay, I think I know what I've done wrong. Not a problem. Okay, there's numerous ways we can fix this. We can create an array or a list of text boxes, but just to keep things super simple and quick, I'm just going to duplicate that, which of course is now going to be 4. I'm just going to get real lazy now. 4, 8, 10, 12, 20. And then I'm just going to nip through. So 8, 10, oops, 12, and 20. So now we've got different text boxes. So now we're just going to need to do a bit of an if statement down here, or a switch statement. I'm not decided which I'm going to go with yet. Probably a switch statement. So I'm going to go with the switch statement. So switch, oops, got capitals on. Switch, open bracket, number of sides. We're going to just go case. So of course we've got case 4 for number of sides, case 4. Been a while since I did one of these. Break, I always just put the break in first to make sure I don't forget. And now I can sort of say d4.text equals, what do we just have? I've already deleted it. Roll dot to string. And again, I'm quite lazy, so I'm just going to copy. Then finally, for good practice, we just write the word default. If you spell it correctly, default, and then break. That just means if it doesn't find, let's say you put a D22 in there, it doesn't have one, it won't break it. It'll just ignore it. Okay, so we've got a nice little switch statement. I prefer those to if then else type ones. Press save on that. Let's go back into Unity. We're going to have to do a bit more dragging. Okay, so now we're back into Unity. I'm just going to drag the text box over onto the code. There we are, all working. Okay, so now we've got our working little app inside Unity. We're going to first of all create a little Windows application. So if I go onto File, Build Profiles, I've already got the Windows chosen. I could just press build and run. Not sure what I'm going to get. So I'm just going to go into our project settings, player. I'm going to come down here, and if I just go back onto this bit a moment, canvas, I can see this is my canvas size, 800 wide by 1154 point whatevers. So I'm on player, windowed, so I've changed that to windowed mode. I'm saying that is the width and height of my application. There we go. I'm going to put my little thumbnail image there. We'll see what happens there. I'm just going to go on to File, Build and Run. So it's going to ask me. So I've already created a folder called Distribution. I'm just going to select that folder. There we go. We've now got our nice little application. That kind of works. So you could just use this on your desktop whenever you feel like it. And that's in that folder just there that we just created. So you should, in theory, be able to just hand that out to people. Maybe also pass the DLL with it. Again, might have to experiment a little bit. I would have to find a computer without Unity installed to make sure that's working. But I should be able to just pass that around. If in doubt, you could just pass them with the whole distribution folder and make sure that's all together and just run it. And there's their little program. Okay, now I've not done this for a while, but web. If we want to put this into a web page as well, we could go into Unity Hub. I could click on, I'm going to come out with that for the moment, cancel. I'm going to go into my installs, go into Unity 6, modify, add modules, and down here it says WebGL, build support. Now this is quite a big download, so I'm going to press this. I've not done this for a while. I am interested, yep, I'm going to press continue. Please review, of course I do. Install, I shall come back in a moment. Okay, after a rather chunky update, I can now go on to File, Build Profiles and choose the web. So let's have a look, switch platform. Yep, that's fine. Now the last time I did this, which is a while ago, I also went into project settings, still in player, publishing settings, and I had to tick the box decompression fallback. That made some things work. I shall try it with and without for this build. So hopefully I should now be able to go into File, Build and Run. Again, I'm going to create a new folder called Web. Select folder. Okay, so now I've swapped it over to the web. It took quite a long time for updates. So I'm back on the player, as mentioned earlier. Resolution, let's change that again. So what was it? 800. I've actually forgotten what the numbers were. I'll just put 1200 and we'll see what it does. What options do I want? Power Web App, default. I'll leave it as default for the moment. So I'll just close that down and let's give it a whirl. Let's see what happens. Okay, it's a little bit cut off, but we can see we've got a little dice in a web browser. So I'm just going to go and quickly play about with the settings again. Okay, so I've been playing about with the resolution settings. We can see it's all working, but it's not quite fitting on screen. So I think that's something we're going to come back to. Okay, so, but it is working for now. Like I said, we have to play about with the resolutions until we get it just right. Okay, so now for an Android build, so we could have it as an app. So if I go on to add modules, I should have already got it. There we go. I've got Android with OpenJDK and the Android SDK already installed. So I should be able to pop back into Unity. Should now have gone to build profiles. Should be able to choose Android, switch platform, and again the usual waiting a while. So I'm just going to plug my phone in, make sure it's on developer mode, and then I can choose my phone from the menu. So now when I do run it, it'll automatically copy across. So I'm going to build and run. I'm going to create a new folder called Android or And. I'm going to save my file into there. I've got to give it a name, of course, for the APK. Yep. Just input handling, we'll deal with that later if necessary. And then I can wait for it to compile. I'll be back again shortly. So now we can see it running on Android, all fully working and ready to go. Okay, so this video took a little bit longer than expected. I thought I'd do it in about 3 or 4, maybe 5 minutes, but it's actually took a 20-minute video, but took me about 4 to 5 hours to actually make because of all the waiting. But if you found any part of this video useful, remember to like, subscribe, positive comment below, and I'll see you in the next one.